Welcome everyone to day 3 of the Resilience Conference. I'm editor-in-chief at Tearsheet, Zach Miller. If I look tired, I am. It's been a wild 3 days. I know we're just at the beginning of the 3rd day, but we've had an incredible lineup. We have a great lineup set up for you guys today as well. Just going forward, I want to talk a little bit about what the day will look like. We're starting out with Clay Wilkes, the CEO of Galileo. He's going to be talking about designing new products for a new future. We have Jason Wilk, no relationship to Clay Wilkes, CEO of Dave, talking about leading with values to create customer value. Next up, we have a little bit of a curveball, which is really interesting. We'll have Scott Spector, who is an architect and runs the Spector Group, to talk about rethinking and redesigning the bake branch in the COVID-19 era. Very interesting idea of how some of the impact of some of the social distancing that we're having is going to have not only on financial services, but even on the layout and the design of both office space and banking space. And I thought that would be quite interesting to address that as well. We'll have a break in the middle of the day and we'll come back at 3:30 p.m. For what we're calling the Outlier Opinion Makers panel. Opinion Makers is Tearsheet's subscription product, Outlier is, excuse me. As part of that, Outlier members are entitled to apply to become opinion makers. Opinion makers can append their comments and their opinion on our Tearsheet content. They also have the opportunity to address you, the crowd, at our events as well. We have 3 people, 3 really interesting perspectives on whether this is a new normal and sort of how financial services may be impacted from there on out. One of the highlights of today at 4:15 will be the Resilience Awards. This is, in addition to our conference, the Resilience Awards are going to celebrate some of the best teams, the best professionals, the best companies, the best products, and the best partnerships that have stayed the course and come out the other side, though we're still in the midst of that. But companies that are rising to the occasion and servicing their customers, servicing their employees, really taking this challenge and turning it into an opportunity. So we'll be announcing the winners then, and I think that'll be quite interesting. And we'll close around 5 p.m. today. So just a little bit in terms of what to expect throughout the day. We don't really do panels except for that Outlier panel that we were talking about. What we do is fireside chats. We will have senior executives today up on the screen talking and addressing you guys. What's really interesting about that is you also get the opportunity to ask questions. If you look at your panel in the Zoom control panel, there's a QA button. You can send your questions through there. We will ask you to come online and ask your question directly to the expert. If there are no questions, that's okay as well. But we find that some of the best content comes through those types of questions and interactivity between attendee and expert. You'll also find that resilience means different things to different executives in different companies. We've taken a variety, we've let actually the speakers take their own perspectives on what resilience means to them. So yesterday we had Patrick Sells at Quantic Bank talking about resilience in terms of culture. We also had Anu Schultes from LendUp, who talked about resilience from the perspective of personal resilience. How do I, as an executive and as a leader of my company, how do I wake up every day and prioritize taking care of my family, taking care of my teams? So we'll continue on that theme of resilience. That's the overarching theme, but you will notice that we get a lot of different perspectives there. We do try to take bio breaks in between every session, and those are like 5 to 10 minutes long, just so people can get up, don't get too stiff, and can move around a little bit and come back kind of fully afresh. So that's it for me. I'm going to invite in my co-CEO, Aaron Singer, to talk a little bit about Tearsheet Outlier membership, which is actually the sponsor of this entire event. So let's see if we can get Aaron on screen. There you go, Aaron. You want to put your camera on? There he is.
Hello there. Hi, co-CEO. And hello, everybody. It's great to have you all here. There's been such tremendous interest in this conference. There's been the social media web has been abuzz with the things that have been going on over the past 2 days, and today is going to be yet another amazing day. In just a few minutes, we're going to jump right in with the CEO of Galileo. But before we do, I wanted to tell you about, as you can see up here, let me see, there you go. Up here is Tearsheet Outlier. And what we've done with this conference is we felt that the best content that we deliver is we deliver to our members. They support us, and we support them with incredible content. So exclusive, in-depth briefs, free attendance at these kinds of conferences, and a lot more. And we provide that for them daily. So we have a daily newsletter that goes out, curated by our editorial team with I think what's really most important to you. And so there's a tremendous value in becoming an Outlier member. It's also the opportunity for your senior executives to become opinion makers in your own right. And we feel that so I just want to tell you kind of the background about opinion makers. For the longest time, the concept of a Tearsheet was to create a community, as Zach had mentioned a couple of times. So it's not just a matter of Zach's voice or the voice of our editorial team, and we really have great writers. You may have heard Shuman jumping in with a lot of great questions. We have a couple of other really great senior reporters that bring valuable content. But and our voice, as you know, Tearsheet's voice is our own. We want to make sure that we are really giving you that authentic voice, but at the same time, we also realize that with such an incredible audience of people that subscribe and read and listen to the podcast from the titans of the finance and the fintech industry, their voices are important too. And we were very interested in getting that feedback on the content that we provide to you. So that's where opinion makers came in. These are senior executives that really people turn around and listen to them, and they have such depth of understanding. But we wanted to make sure that we weren't giving it out to the opportunity to become an opinion maker to just anyone out there, but we really wanted to give it to the people that are most loyal to what we bring to this space. And so we've opened it to our Outlier members. It's free to become an opinion maker. You have to go through a vetting process, and the only thing you really need to be is an Outlier member, which there's a subscription fee for. I think that it more than pays for itself, between all the incredible insight that you get, as well as the free content and joining, these types of events that we put on, and much, much more. So take a moment, now or during the break, to go on to a Tearsheet. You could find it's a subscribe, and if you click on that, that brings you to the Tearsheet Outlier page. You can also go to tearsheet.co, tearsheet.co/outlier, and that brings you there as well. Okay, and so we look forward to you becoming a part of the Tearsheet family and membership. And with that, I want to pass it over back to you, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And we've been running Outlier, and when Aaron did a really good job of describing what Outlier is, but the Outlier in and of itself is really our way of going deeper with our content and really engaging our community in sort of a bi-directional conversation. It's chock full of value. It's a daily newsletter. It's different podcasts. We do industry briefings. But the ability to get your voice heard throughout the Tearsheet community, 800,000 subscribers on our podcast, tens of thousands of newsletter subscribers. It is really, really, really interesting. And it's one of the first things in the industry, one of the first times we've seen this in the industry, where a vetted group of people can actually add their voice to really professional content. So thank you, Aaron, for that. We're going to bring up Clay Wilkes, the CEO of Galileo. Let's bring him on. There he is.
Hi, Zach. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you as well. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to be a part of the great Tearsheet Resilience Conference.
Thank you. So I'd love to start, Clay, maybe just by you introducing yourself and tell us where you're calling in from. What are we seeing in the background?
Yeah, absolutely. This is Clay Wilkes. I'm the founder and CEO of Galileo, and calling in from Salt Lake City this morning. It's still morning here in Salt Lake. I don't know where everyone else is. Galileo, by way of introduction, is the API standard for card issuing and digital banking. By one recent study, 95% of digital banking in North America is being powered by Galileo. So clients such as Chime, Robinhood, TransferWise, Varo, Monzo, Revolut, Remitly, SoFi, and many, many, many others are Galileo clients. We have, I think, 70 out of the top 100 fintech companies are Galileo clients.
That's amazing. And can you tell us a little bit about, I know it's a 20-year story, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the founding and the evolution of the company?
Yes, it is a 20-year journey. And we started it as a way to create a platform that would really be up for the challenge of this internet era in which we find ourselves right now and have been in for a while. And the other platforms that we saw in the market at the time just were, legacy-based, large, rigid, monolithic platforms that were not capable of doing that. And Galileo started in that environment. In particular, we needed to be able to adapt easily into a wide variety of different and demanding business environments and applications. Because it wasn't traditional credit, it wasn't traditional debit as defined by the payment networks. And so, they thought of this as kind of a third bucket, but the truth is it was sort of like everything else was in that bucket. And that's where Galileo started and where we began. So, Fintech came along behind that, and Galileo was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. To be the platform that many, many leaders have chosen to power their solutions.
Amazing. Took 20 years to become an overnight success, right?
Yeah, I've heard people say that. I've heard, Clay, overnight success, 18 years in the making. And many times when you look at companies, that the journey resembles that. People think about Nike and this incredible company, but just as one example, reading Shoe Dog, I was made aware that actually, as I look at the timing that, Phil Knight and company went through, Galileo was actually ahead of where they were revenue-wise and wow. Journey-wise in their evolution. So it wasn't altogether disappointing that it took 18 years.
Wow, that's wild. Oh, so let's jump into resilience. Let's get into the meat of the conversation. Clay, how would you explain the skyrocketing use of digital banking during the ongoing pandemic? And I guess give us your perspective on sort of what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, people are clearly concerned. They're worried about the public health crisis, obviously. That fear is driving a lot of behavioral change, impacting our lives in a wide variety of ways. We are, as a people, we are wanting to clearly avoid contact. So that's something that has been drilled into our heads in terms of spreading the virus. And the way that that's affecting financial applications is wanted to buy online, reduce contact at the point of sale, avoiding cash, avoiding bank branches, avoiding ATMs, avoiding many of the behaviors that have existed in the financial services market for a long time. And the data supports this shift in the last, call it 4 months. We've seen dramatic shifts to online purchasing and many of these other behaviors. But that journey starts from the client experience, starts before that. So, these digital banks have the ability to be able to, onboard a customer and have an insane focus on that customer journey. And that's really what is the hallmark, I think, of one of these fintech companies. Many individuals have recognized that a company like Amazon has been built for the pandemic, and fortunately it existed. I can't imagine trying to handle this pandemic in, say, pre-Zoom, pre Amazon experience, but and that same holds true for kind of pre-fintech, and many of these leaders have built out functionality that customers are adapting to.
So I just want to, I guess, ask a corollary question with that. Do you see this as I guess, a trend that started way before the pandemic and that has just been accelerated now? Or are we seeing new behavior here?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, but the trend began long before the pandemic, and the pandemic was sort of in the right spot at the right time. And, or excuse me, the fintechs were in the right spot at the right time to handle the pandemic. But we've also seen a shift in behavior because of the pandemic, and the fintechs were able to take that up. And some of your other guests, I think, have been speaking to, and will speak to, what does it mean for the incumbent banking experience, and how should they be adapting here?
So I actually want to hear how, if we take the perspective or the focus off of Galileo and put it onto your clients, what are you hearing from your clients? How have they been impacted by the pandemic?
It depends a little bit, because Galileo serves a very wide variety of different clients. And so, like companies in general during the pandemic, we've seen companies such as Peloton. I mean, I wouldn't have picked a Peloton to be I guess if I had thought about it long enough, I would have thought, that is going to be a success story. But clearly, as soon as the pandemic started, it was obvious, and that's been true of fintechs too. So many have seen dramatic surges in the number of accounts, the amount of money that's being deposited or loaded, the amount of money that's being spent, the types of usage. There's been a wide adaptation to those things, and the fintechs that were prepared and that kind of fit this shift in public behavior have benefited from it. But there have been some who have not. For example, we've had fintech companies that whose business model is to, say, extend lending at the point of sale. That would not have been a good business to be in because of the pandemic. Or fintechs that specialize in travel or foreign currencies. These kinds of experiences have seen obviously a downtick in their business, and Galileo supports many fintechs across the board.
Interesting. I guess outside of the factors, the macroeconomic factors that may impact travel different than say digital banking, are there what are your clients asking for from you? What are they turning to Galileo for? What are their biggest needs right now?
Galileo, a few points here. Galileo has experienced a dramatic increase in number and types of potential clients. So our business has been dramatically impacted by the pandemic as the shift to digital banking has accelerated. Clients, new fintechs, small, medium, and large, as well as incumbent banks actually have come asking for Galileo services. So one of the things that we're experiencing is not only a dramatic uptick in the types of clients, but a request for faster implementation times. So obviously, they want to be able to respond quickly, to their business needs. And then in the shift, for example, from card present to card not present, implementation of our fraud AI, which has a dramatic impact on battling card not present fraud types. Many have wanted to get that capability implemented quickly. And then increased demand for our access to our data and capabilities there through our Galileo analytics. So being able to gain access to insights to these behavioral changes has also been key, and it's really been data driven. And then beyond that, it's really just servicing the clients. Galileo provides all of the not only the tech stack, but the capabilities that power the middle office and back office capabilities of these companies. And so increased demand across the board for things like disputes and many of these other types of services that we're responding to and needing to respond to because of these increased in demand.
Do you see, Clay, just, a follow-on question to that, do you see a difference between those new customers that are coming to you during this time period and your existing customers in terms of what they're asking for and what their needs are?
Not really. They're very similar. We haven't seen I'll phrase it as a request for new sets of functionality that didn't exist before. It's not a lot different than what we've seen kind of pre-pandemic. There's some with our Pro offering. We'll talk about Galileo Instant, I think, in a few minutes. But with our Pro offering, there's a bit of customization that exists with these as we try to, make sure that we're meeting the client's expectations in terms of what they're trying to achieve from a business objectives perspective.
So I guess that's a good segue to get into the product set. How has your product set and services, I guess, evolved during this time period to meet those needs of these customers, both old and new?
Well, Galileo's built an incredible set of API-driven functionality and is prepared and has been able to meet their expectations. So I wouldn't say anything there in terms of the platform itself. We have successfully shifted to a work from home environment. Fortunately, we've been able to do that, as many other companies have. And I guess the surprising thing to me has been that we've been highly productive. I don't know why we didn't shift from an all work from home years before. The ability to reduce, some of the stresses and strains of going into the office and whatnot. It's almost the opposite, the exact opposite. You have to make sure that employees are taking care of non-work related items. And so we've done some of that too. But no, I've been very pleasantly surprised at our ability to deliver against client expectations during this time.
I just want to ask another question about the work from home. How quickly did you guys shift to work from home, and how has the communication changed within the company?
Well, we went early. If anything, I think we were, or maybe I was, a bit paranoid. I wasn't entirely sure that it was going to work. We went March 5th as our first work from home date, and as I say, it's worked well really from day one. Communication has adapted and has shifted. Obviously, we use conferencing capabilities such as the one we're on now to be able to manage additional communications. And there are some things about being in the office that are missed. Personal interaction. I don't want to trivialize that. It's important as human beings. We need that feedback that's really hard to reproduce over a virtual experience.
Totally. Have you found, I guess, the structure of meetings, not just the tools that you use, but the channels and the frequency has been impacted from work from home?
Yeah, I would say so. One of the things that we've done is, we had various types of meetings at Galileo, and these are kind of the preset, well-defined, well-expected meetings. Those meetings have shifted. So what I mean by that is, for example, I might have had a leadership meeting pre-pandemic. My leadership meeting now really includes most levels of the leadership, all the way down, so that everybody is kind of experiencing this all at once. And so shifting the way that we interact during those meetings has been an important thing. And by the way, that's actually become one of my favorite meetings. And I wouldn't have said that pre-pandemic. It's just like, oh, this is another meeting. But I love the interaction there. And so maybe that's me craving the kind of interaction that I would have gotten if I had been in the halls of the office. But yes, the style of the meetings has changed. I know the leadership teams themselves are conducting, daily stand-ups as an example, and I've jumped into many of those, and many of our leaders have actually become better managers as a result of the pandemic.
How many full-time staff do you have now?
We have about 400,
Okay.
2,000 counting all the SoFi employees.
Got it. So you had mentioned, Clay, about Galileo Instant. So I'd like to start teasing that out a little bit more. When did you start working on it? Well, at first, let's explain it, I guess, a little bit deeper. And then I'd like to hear like when you started working on it and why. What was the what was the trigger there?
So Galileo Instant is a product that we've just recently taken live. Galileo Instant allows anyone to come to a portal, auto-authenticate, and spin up full digital banking capabilities in a matter of minutes. So it's transformational. It's revolutionary sort of experience. In the previous experience, there's a lot of friction, and we recognize this. We weren't oblivious to it. We were one of the parties living it or perhaps causing it. I'm not sure. But this friction included banking and payments expertise, for example, regulatory, fraud, disputes, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot that goes into that. Assembling a team of experts to be able to build out your fintech capability, which is expensive, it's costly, it's time consuming, raising significant amounts of money, having a bank relationship fully in place, heavyweight contracts between all the parties, card production and fulfillment, relationship with the payments networks, and the list goes sort of on and on and on. And it takes a lot of time to be able to put this all together. So, from beginning to end, where we got involved to the time that our client was fully up and operational and really in full production, is a long time. Our part of that might have been just, a handful of months, say 3 to 4 months. But that journey could be anywhere from, if you're moving fast, 9 months to maybe as long as 18 months. Mm-hmm. So to be able to take that down, Galileo Instant right now is promising 2 weeks. The truth is our team has done it in 23 minutes. So, that's a transformation, an important transformation in this whole thing. So it allows anybody to be able to begin making these payments immediately or instantly, and we believe that's transformational in terms of eliminating this friction. The truth is, and where we're going with this product is that not everybody wants to be a fintech company. Some of these applications are just wanting to make a payment, and so Galileo will serve the needs of these types of clients. Things such as marketplace, e-commerce, gig economy type companies will benefit from Galileo Instant. To answer your question on timing, we began working on Galileo Instant in January of 2019. We announced it in December of 2019, and from the time that we announced it until the time that it went live, so during the early access period, and it went live, I should mention, in June of 2020, so just less than a month ago, mm-hmm. June 26th, actually. And so we began from December on providing early access. We had about 450 companies that had requested early access, and then we've actually got 750 companies using the product today in a little less than a month.
Can you take us a little bit more into how the sausage is made? I'm curious to know internally what resources you marshaled and what teams worked on building this.
Yeah, we created a team, so a specific team of existing Galileo technical and product leaders to build out the functionality. So, this team had the mandate to deliver against Galileo Instant, and it was a bit of a journey finding a bank partner that was willing to take this on. The bank had to transform as well. So, we work with a very wide variety of banks, and they've all got different business models and appetites for certain types of fintech applications. So, but none of them were prepared for delivering against Galileo Instant. So, getting the bank to make the adaptation was part of that journey, we're really pleased with where the product is today.
As a leader in the company, like how did you communicate the importance of Instant to your teams?
Well, we started early, and that I should share kind of an interesting experience here, because you would think, okay, it's a brilliant idea. Yeah, everybody just gets in right behind it and endorse it. That's not true. you find these kinds of things in companies. For example, in our business development, the business model is different around Galileo Instant, and for business development who might try to take the client through the journey on our what we refer to as our standard Galileo Pro offering. They have commission that relates to that, and we had a very large fintech company, existing fintech company, actually see our announcement around Galileo Instant. The CEO reached out. They were directed down through the channels. They came in through the website, down through the channels. And the Galileo Pro client development team got the request. And they were like, this is a massive opportunity, but it's got to be a Galileo Pro solution. And so they began kind of going down that journey with them. And the CEO actually reached back out to me and said, look, I'm interested in Galileo Instant. Do you offer it or not? So we had some adjusting to do internally to make sure that teams were aware of, that we were messaging, incentivizing, doing all the things that it wasn't just developing a product. There was more to it than that.
That's a really interesting dynamic, and that makes sense as you explain it, Clay. Can you also, I guess I don't understand fully the difference in business models. I guess I can explain it to myself. Can you be more explicit about how that differs from Pro?
Yeah, so I mean, with the Pro offering, we engage with the client early. We try to understand what their requirements are. We go through an implementation process. There's a legal process that's running along with that. There's identification of the bank partner. All these things come together. There's actually, an implementation process that we go through. There's formal steps that are followed through all of that. And this journey isn't like that at all. So you actually, the potential client would come to the portal. They would authenticate, and we might not even get involved in that implementation process or decision. So it begins, in an instant. Mm-hmm. And so our economic model changes a bit because of that. So let me give you some examples of say prospects that might use this. Google has got to pay YouTube influencers. There's 30 million of these, right? Every month, there's got to be a payment that's made to these influencers for ads that have run in their various videos. And so in that application, Google just wants to make a payment. That's all they want to do. That particular application is not them wanting to be a fintech company. They actually just want to make a payment. I have a neighbor, I've used this story before, but I have a neighbor that they have 10,000 welders, and he came to me. This is before we had this product generally available, a few months before, and said, hey, I want to pay these welders by the weld, daily, every day, by the weld. Do you have a product that will enable me to do that? And I said, well, if you give me a few months, we'll be able to do it. He's actually one of our clients now, so that's working well.
Can you talk about how clients are actually using Instant? And I'm curious, particularly in sort of with the backdrop of the pandemic that's going on right now. How are they using Instant right now?
So Instant is an API, like our Pro offering, is an API-driven solution. It's a simplified set of APIs that allow them to come in and gain access to the functionality. In terms of business application, there's really everything that they need there. So we actually provide a mobile experience that can be co-branded. There's card production that can be co-branded. Really, the entire experience can be co-branded. So whether you're talking about a fintech company that's just two guys in a garage that want to be the next Chime or Robinhood, or it's Google who wants to pay their YouTube influencers and they want to have a branded experience for that, then Galileo Instant will suffice. If it's more involved business logic, where, say, giving an experience where the account is being managed by the client, where the balance is there, proprietary logic is coming into play, or there's something unique, or or something specific that Galileo Instant hasn't contemplated. And by the way, Galileo Instant doesn't solve all applications. It solves, one thing. It allows you to start and get started fast and make a payment. But if you want to do something special, it's going to require, the Galileo Pro. But one could lead to the other too. So it's a nice stepping effect to get there.
So I know, Clay, you took us through the timeline of Instant when the ideation occurred, when you rolled it out. Do you envision, and some of the friction between that and the existing product set, do you imagine Instant is that a product for today's market? Is that a future product? Like, how are you thinking that in terms of Galileo's future?
Yeah. The Galileo Instant began pre-pandemic and will absolutely exist post-pandemic. It's an important transformation that needs to exist in the payments ecosystem generally. And so, we see that, a requirement and need. There's large demand for it right now. This demand, I wouldn't say is necessarily tied to the pandemic, although there are probably use cases that relate to the pandemic, and those are being worked through and explored by clients right now. So, and I don't know them fully. I wouldn't profess to know all 750, for example, clients that are there and whatever they're developing. It's going to be exciting and interesting to see, but we'll see. So your question, Zach, is a good one, and we see this as a key component of the payments ecosystem going forward. And one of the important applications that this has is really to banking as a service, and the concept that is banking as a service, and specifically in a global application. For example, a team in London can call our API and have an outcome in Sao Paulo or Singapore, and I don't know how to describe that other than to say that's enormous. So I'm thrilled about it. We had, I'll share one other experience. So this is pre-pandemic. At the last Money 2020, I had somebody come up to me from Israel and say, "Hey, take a look at my application." I was running to another meeting, and he showed me really quickly, and I said, "Actually, that's pretty impressive." And he said, "Yeah, I'm doing all of this against your sandbox, your API sandbox." This is pre-Galileo Instant.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, one, how did you learn about that? And two, how did you access it from Israel?" And it's incredible that that's going on. And so without any marketing at all, in less than a month, we've got 750. We're ready. We're getting ready to launch a major marketing effort around this. And we just see it as a transformational functionality. It's no other way to put it. And we think that we're going to see hundreds of these types of, thousands of these types of experiences all over the environments and areas that we support.
So my next question, I guess, is in response to what you said. I don't actually know if the question makes sense now that I'm thinking about it, but watching all this activity happen within Instant, I know that case in Israel wasn't on Instant, but is there a scenario where it's sort of like a proving grounds, you're watching what clients are doing with it, and then there's a feed that back maybe into the pro product or things that you guys build yourself? Yeah, absolutely. So this will be a learning experience for our clients where they come in, they prototype it. They can actually prototype it with real people, real money, real application, real data, real learnings, iteration. All of that can happen, and Galileo will be learning along with them. We'll be enhancing it. We'll be supporting it, growing with it. And I'm sure, if I took your iPhone today and replaced it with an iPhone version 1, people would be like, "What is this thing?" It's not quite the same thing as the iPhone 11, right? So we expect that growth to happen with Instant as well. So I think the iPhone's an interesting metaphor. How do you imagine Instant sitting alongside other Galileo products in the future? Like what what does portfolio management look like for you guys moving ahead?
Yeah, Galileo will absolutely support Instant. As I said, it's important. We'll continue to power the fintech ecosystem and financial services ecosystem as well. The combination with SoFi is intriguing and important for us. Many of these fintech companies have got lending products in their roadmaps, and that's the promise and delivery of the SoFi combination is taking what SoFi has built from a lending perspective, these great products, the securitization capabilities, wrapping our APIs around them, delivering those in an enterprise class API environment is also going to be a really exciting and cool advent. We think, we don't see anybody really doing that today, not at scale. And so this is an important component of what we're doing, as is Invest. So bringing together the worlds of sort of banking and payments with investments. Today, those are very, sort of separate industries. Bringing those together so you've got a single capability. So the lending and invest products that SoFi has really perfected. So we've got, the fractional fee-free fractional share trading capabilities. Galileo will also deliver out to its clients. So these are all capabilities that will be in the product mix for Galileo going forward.
Got it. I also want to talk about fintech. Like, what roles in general do you see fintech offerings? I'm thinking like instant payments or credit products playing in this new future that we're talking about right now, and why do you think they're important?
I believe fintech is in its infancy. That's what I think. And people would say, well, that's crazy. I mean, it's been going for, I don't know when fintech, the term came around, but fintech, the industry has been going for 20 years. It's been going crazy for at least 5 to 7 of those 20 years. But still, I believe it's absolutely in its infancy. I think we have seen a breaking down and a re-optimization of banking functions so far. So that's kind of been what fintech evolution has been to date, which has given this rise to what I would call fintech 1.0. But I fully believe we will see applications, companies that deliver new capabilities that have not even been dreamed of yet. We saw this with the internet. So the internet came along and it was providing a certain level of capability. And then came, the World Wide Web and everything that opened up. And then we saw sort of a third wave, come in with social media and all that powered, and then mobile applications even beyond that. So I expect that same capability is going to continue to be witnessed in the fintech journey. So I don't know what all of those things look like. We talked a little bit about global expansion. I expect the dominant US players will begin to expand globally. And one of the reasons why we're pushing hard into Latin America right now and into Asia Pacific regions is so that we can support these fintechs. We've already got very, very high demand for that type of capability. So these are the types of things that Galileo is trying to solve for.
Do you think it becomes harder as Galileo grows and your capabilities expand for sort of point solutions to compete with some of the things that you guys are doing?
Can you restate your question? I mean, do you mean do we find it harder and harder to support the clients themselves, or that they're in competition with us? What is your? Yeah, no,
not the former. Basically, like, you guys are providing the infrastructure, I guess, for all the fintech. So in a way, making that, democratize is an overused word, but you're making that much more accessible than for the fintech to go out and build it themselves. So is it making it easier to get into the field and compete? Like, I guess, given the infrastructure needs that Galileo is serving, like how are fintechs going to compete in the future? Just the ownership over the client experience, that kind of stuff?
Well, we see a lot of opportunity there. I mean, that isn't going to go away, and Galileo's not going to solve all of that. I mean, it's not going to solve most of it. That's going to have to come from, many other creative minds and fundraisings and applications and customer and client sets and whatnot. Hopefully Galileo in a position to power some of that, and we think we will be. But no, we see an absolute need to continue to partner and to support, and we're a tiny cog, in that whole broader ecosystem.
Got it. Are you ready to take a question from the crowd?
Yes.
Okay. Let's bring on Shuman. You said yes too eagerly. You don't know what his question is yet. So I'm just kidding.
Has Galileo been actively in adding clients in the direct-to-consumer online delivery and logistics business space during the pandemic? Who are your biggest competitors? We have been actively adding clients. We've had our busiest quarter ever in the second quarter of 2020. And we've had our busiest week ever just last week, so if you ignore Galileo Instant for a minute and look at Galileo Pro, we actually signed 5 new deals in a single week, which is our biggest ever for a week. So the answer is yes. We've been actively taking on new clients. Are we taking them on in the direct-to-consumer online delivery and logistics business space? There are many clients that support those types of businesses that we already support and have taken on during the pandemic. And who are your biggest competitors? Our competitors are anybody else that provides payments delivery in one sense. In another sense, 95% market penetration by any standard or any measure is pure dominance in an industry. So we don't actually see, some people would say, well, you compete with Marqeta, but actually Marqeta, it's not really a direct competitor. Galileo is going to begin focusing much more with Instant and with some of the pro solutions that we're bringing much more directly with Marqeta as we move more directly into their space. So that's how I would answer that question. Suman, I don't know if I sufficiently answered it or not. Happy to hear from you also.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you. I was wondering about that Marqeta point too, because especially given that they're involved in card issuing, but you're saying that that's something that you're going to get more involved in as time goes on.
Their historic sort of context has been marketplace businesses, and that's something that we're being drawn into, and we'll begin competing much more directly with Marqeta in that space. In the challenger digital banking space, they're not a competitor to ours today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shuman. Clay, I think that's it for our questions. I wanted to thank you for joining us at the Resilience Conference. It's wonderful learning about Galileo and hearing the story. So thank you for addressing our audience.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Great to see you all. Thanks, Zach.
My
Talk
pleasure.
to you soon. We'll see you.
We're going to take a break for 9 minutes and start again at 1 p.m. Eastern. So everybody can take a bio break, and we'll meet back here in about 9 minutes.